Good morning, and thanks for joining us today. And I'm delighted to welcome Steph McGovern to the team. She's going to be with us whilst Michelle is having her first baby. And Michelle, whatever you're doing, I hope you've got your feet up.
Because you won't have them up for long, love. Good luck, Michelle. Yeah, I am absolutely buzzing to be stepping in. And hopefully your calls will give some much-needed justice to the victims and families we'll be hearing about throughout the series.
Today, do you know who smashed through the wall of an expensive boutique to steal thousands of pounds worth of handbags? Look at that. It was a meticulously planned break-in, but who was behind it?
Also, we'll be talking to officers from Devon and Cornwall Police about the tech being used to identify vapes laced with harmful drugs. They want to get them off the streets.
Certainly do. And we have an exclusive film with a team of detectives who led the manhunt to find Constance Martin and Mark Gordon, who went on the run with their new baby.
Yeah, it's an incredible case. Our phone lines are now open. To get in touch, scan the QR code below using your phone's camera and follow the link. Or call us on 08000 468 999. You can text us as well. The number's 63399. Start the message with the word crime, leave a space, and then write your text. You can email us, cwl@bbc.co.uk. And all of these details will be on your screen down by the clock throughout the programme.
Now, the first appeal we need your help with this series is a fatal shooting of a much-loved and treasured 19-year-old. Ellis Cox.
Ellis was known as a gentle giant. He was very mature for his age. When he was about 11, 12, he started to grow his hair. And it got longer and longer and longer. And I used to have to blow dry it every morning because his hair had to be perfect. And then eventually he told us he was going to the shop, and this is a famous photo that he came back with this haircut and nobody could recognise him. When he was in the shower, you'd hear his boombox come on, and then you knew you were in for a treat because he would go through various songs and he would sing, and even our neighbours say, we know when Ellis is in the shower because you can hear his beautiful singing. Whenever he would come home from work, I would tell him about my day. I don't have that anymore. And he was a good boy. And he just went out on his bike.
On Sunday, the 23rd of June 2024, Ellis was at home with his mum.
Ellis wanted to go on a bike ride because he was really bored, and he said he was going with friends who he knew from school. But we said, oh, it's a bit late to go now, because we had him wrapped in cotton wool. And he said, it's only 4:30. It's really sunny and I'm 19. And he said, could he borrow a bike off his uncle, Julie's husband?
He went, oh, it's in the shed, Julie, it's a mess. And I was like, get in there and get him a bike, you know, make sure he wants to go with his friends. And then off he went.
Ellis cycled to meet his friends and they took a train to Ormskirk.
I rung him numerous times to see where he was and to see if he'd eaten. And then I phoned him and he was on his way back. He said, Mum, I'm right by yours, I'll be 5 minutes. Will you warm up me tea? So I said, yeah. So I thought, I can relax, because I knew that he was 5 minutes away.
That was the last time Carolyn spoke to her son. At approximately 10:50 p.m, Merseyside police were made aware that a 19-year-old man had been shot whilst at the Liver Industrial Estate in Aintree, Sefton.
One of the males who were with Ellis, he'd called the ambulance first and they'd notified the police, and that's how we became aware of the incident. Ellis was seriously injured and he was taken to hospital from the scene. Unfortunately, he succumbed to his injuries whilst he was receiving treatment at the hospital.
Even though he was 19, he's my baby. And then people took him from me, and I didn't get to say goodbye. I didn't get to give him love or hold him. And he was just 5 minutes away. He would have needed his mum.
Officers started piecing together Ellis's movements that day.
He was in a group of 5 lads, all around about the same age, between 17 and 19, 20. They'd been cycling around Ormskirk and really just done as young lads do, possibly played football. That summer, he'd become friendly with a new group of friends. I don't think this new group of friends were his type of people, really. I think they were engaged in some low-level criminality. Ellis probably wouldn't have been aware of any of that.
Ellis and 4 of the group travelled back to Liverpool by train, getting off at Maghull North, heading into Liver Industrial Estate to cycle home via the loop line.
Ellis and his friends have entered sort of an alleyway which leads onto the loop line. And we think there, Ellis and his friends have actually had some sort of confrontation with the offenders.
Ellis and the group tried to flee.
As they've come back into the industrial estate, we can hear 3 shots on CCTV. Now, unfortunately, that's where Ellis is struck and Ellis falls to the floor.
Ellis's 4 friends escaped, but one was also shot in the foot.
There is obviously sort of confusion, and Ellis's friends are frightened.
The assailants then fled the scene on e-bikes. 3 of Ellis's friends leave the area, but one goes back to him and calls for an ambulance.
We're in the industrial estate. This is actually the location where Ellis was murdered. CCTV footage in the industrial area comes to around about this location, and then from here on in, there's no CCTV. During the searches, there were 2 bullet casings recovered. Judging by the location of where the casings were recovered, this is where I believe the gunman would have been standing, in and around this location.
Forensic inquiries into the firearm casings confirmed the weapon had been linked to 2 previous shootings in Merseyside, though the weapon itself has never been recovered.
We know that the suspects have come to this location from this direction and come from Walton Hall Lane, Walton Hall Avenue area. I believe they've gone back that route as well. So I'd ask anybody who lives close to that location where the loop line meets the Grandison estate, if they saw anything untoward that night, if they had any information about who was riding those bikes on that night, please come forward. Unfortunately, one of the main aspects of the investigation that we've encountered has been the lack of support and information that we receive from those who were with him on the night. We're looking for a motive, why this happened. We need to establish if anything happened earlier on in that day that may have led to this. Have Ellis's friends been targeted in particular, or is this just a totally random attack? There will be people in our community who know exactly who's responsible for this, what they did with the firearm, where they took the bikes, what they did with the clothing that they were wearing. This investigation will continue until we find who's responsible and we bring them to justice.
His favourite colour was orange, so everything neon orange.
From the minute you walk into the cemetery, you can see where Ellis is. You can see it probably from the moon. We need someone who knows who did this to come forward and give us that justice for Ellis.
If it was your baby, could you see this knowing that you know who's done this? My baby's been taken, so you help us and do the right thing.
Well, this has clearly been incredibly hard for all of Ellis's family, his friends, and the wider community. And DCI Steve McGrath from Merseyside Police is with me now. Steve, thank you for joining us today. What you want to make clear is that you don't believe that Ellis was actually the intended target of any of this.
Yeah, no, Ellis had absolutely no links to criminality, or he was not involved in criminality in any way, so he's a totally innocent victim in this. Our inquiries indicate that the males that he was with were involved in low-level criminality, potentially drug dealing around and in and around the Loop Line area. So that's formed part of our inquiry.
OK, what can you tell us about his movements that night?
So if you think back to last summer, it was a lovely sunny time of the year, lovely sunny day. Ellis and about 8 friends that we've established now had actually gone to the Ormskirk area and were hanging around a university campus up in Ormskirk. They've then got the train back and they've got off the train at Maghull North, which is a train station in Maghull area, and then they've cycled through Maghull, they've gone through Ackerley and ultimately gone into Aintree, where they've gone onto the Liver Industrial Estate. Now that takes you through to the Loop Line, which eventually will take you back to where Ellis lived.
OK. What do we know about the suspects?
So what we believe is that there was 3 suspects involved in the murder of Ellis, using e-bikes, so electronic bikes. We believe that they've entered the Loop Line, potentially around the Walton Hall Avenue area, and they've also escaped that way too. It's difficult to say because of the lack of CCTV on the Loop Line, but we've essentially ruled out other areas that they may well have gone in and out of the Loop Line from.
And as a result of your inquiries, you believe they may be local?
Yes, we think so. I mean, that firearm's been used on 2 previous occasions in the Merseyside area. So we think that that firearm's been used by a particular organised crime group, which would make sense when we look at the location around where Ellis was murdered. So it does look like it's a localised issue.
What do you know about the weapon?
It was a Glock-type self-loading pistol. We believe 3 shots were fired on the night. We've had ballistics examination of the casings, which has led us to believe that that's the type of firearm used.
Who do you need to hear from today?
So what I'm looking for today really is to make an appeal to those who are close to the individuals who are responsible for Ellis's murder. I believe that we know potentially who's responsible for this now. We've had a lot of information from the community, but it's really more specific details that I want to ask for today. So I want to know sort of who these individuals were associating with at the time, what locations they were visiting, just in order to try and recover the evidence that we need to pursue a prosecution in this case.
And you need these answers, and these answers may well be out there with someone watching this right now. And if they are sat there and they're scared to come forward, or they just need that extra incentive to come forward, there's a pretty big financial reward here.
Yes, so Crime Stoppers have put forward a £20,000 reward, and that's for the arrest and prosecution of the offenders in relation to this. So that can be accessed through the Crime Stoppers website and also through their telephone contact.
Yeah, we just need to get the answers in for this awful, awful crime. Steve, thank you. Well, if you can help, please do pick up the phone if you know anything about this awful shooting, just 19 years of age. All the ways you can contact us are at the bottom of your screen, and we're just going to leave them there throughout the whole programme.
Now, I'm sure many of you will have followed in horror the extraordinary trial this year of socialite Constance Martin and her partner Mark Gordon. Now, they went on the run together with their newborn baby in the freezing cold of November 2023. Well, now we can show you an exclusive film with the detectives who led that case. It's one that would become a very personal investigation. And as you can imagine, this film has some disturbing details from the start.
I've never come across anything like this in 23 years in the police.
It was imperative that we found the couple and the baby.
We knew we had to find them, and fast.
All right, where's your child?
On the 5th of January 2023, at around 6:20 in the evening, a member of the public calls Greater Manchester Police to report a car fire on the M61 near Bolton. Detective Sergeant Dominic Beaver is on duty.
At the time, it just seemed quite innocuous. It was reported that fire service were dealing, and it didn't really seem like it was much for me until tables turned just over an hour later.
I'm not pathologist, but there's loads of newborn baby paraphernalia in the car.
And when the police attended, it's been flagged to me because they were found what they believed were body parts in the vehicle.
What's on the back seat is probably about the size of a bag of sugar. Also of concern is the fact that there's a towel or a baby blanket that is blood-stained and is in the...
It was reported back to me a while later that they believed it was indeed a placenta that the pathologist thought was between 1 and 2 days old. The main concern is, has this child been born outside of a medical setting and needs some support and help? That was the big concern.
A witness reports seeing a couple leaving the burning car carrying a newborn baby.
The reason we needed to find them was because there was quite a concern that a couple, in the weather that we were having, it was absolutely pouring down with rain that night, and they had a small baby that we didn't know how old it was, how vulnerable.
A search of the area yields a key piece of evidence.
In that documentation, we found the name of Mark Gordon. And we put his name in the police computer only to find out that he had warnings. It was flagged that Mark Gordon was a registered sex offender, having been convicted to a serious sexual offence in the United States.
And the database reveals something else.
It came flashing on the screen of a wanted marker that went on to elaborate that, together with his partner, Constance Martin, they had a tendency to hide pregnancies.
The couple already have 4 children, all of them taken into the care of social services.
And then at that point, we think, well, hang on. There's a couple potentially from the warnings on the computer that have hidden this pregnancy and have tried to flee with this child that's clearly not had medical care. It was a real concern that we just needed to make sure that baby was safe. We knew we had to find them and fast.
The following morning, one sighting leads police to a makeshift campsite where they find Constance Martin's passport and evidence that the couple had been sleeping outdoors with a baby.
I remember it being quite a cold winter, and we just had real concerns of them not sleeping somewhere proper and what may happen, because everyone was fearing the worst.
Following an appeal for information, a member of the public reports seeing the couple in Bolton town centre.
We dispatch officers straight to that location to start reviewing the CCTV to see if we can pick up the couple and see where they go afterwards. That uncovered the couple being dropped off in the town centre, walking through the bus station. We saw Constance and Mark soaking wet through with what seems to be the baby inside the coat. Mark's hood was up. That may have been because of the rain. It may have been because he was trying to avoid CCTV cameras. They certainly seemed to be alive to the tactics that the police might utilise to catch them.
CCTV then shows the couple leaving in another taxi, and officers are able to identify the driver, who confirms that the baby is alive and well. Police continue to trace the couple's movements, first to Liverpool and then more than 250 miles south to Harwich in Essex. 48 hours after the discovery of the burning car, the story is attracting national headlines.
Police searching for a missing couple and their newborn baby have released a CCTV image that they believe to be of the mother.
When CCTV then picks up the couple arriving in East Ham in London, Detective Superintendent Lewis Basford from the Met Police takes over the investigation.
This has got to be the most significant manhunt that I have ever been involved in. As a father myself, it certainly makes you think differently around investigations when children are at the heart of them. The CCTV was really telling. At no point does Constance check on the baby the fact that she's liable to being smothered whilst within that coat. It's not an appropriate carry device for such a young baby in the early days of her life. This concern only grew when we saw CCTV images of the way that they were handling the baby in a local restaurant. In essence, I would refer to it as almost handling her like a rag doll.
Concerns deepen when police find CCTV of the couple buying a lightweight tent.
As soon as we knew that that tent had been bought, it became apparent that they were sleeping rough. We knew that the weather had turned. We knew that temperatures at night were in -4, -5, -6.
But the hunt for the couple is proving difficult. They avoid using mobile phones or bank cards, leaving no digital footprint.
Everything was paid for in cash. There was no interactions with members of the public. And when they did enter at times restaurants or cafes to get food for themselves, they did so with masks, which then concealed their identities.
By this stage, police are convinced that the couple are playing a dangerous game of cat and mouse.
The couple were so significant in their anti-surveillance that they would spend hours circling round streets of London before then moving on. The spontaneous planning that they were doing was all in an attempt to evade us.
An enormous manhunt is now underway, and the search dominates the news.
Police say a couple who disappeared with their newborn baby may be sleeping in a tent.
Detectives fear Constance Martin and Mark Gordon may be sleeping rough in freezing temperatures.
We knew that without the media and without the public, we would not find the baby.
Police are appealing to a mother from London to keep her beautiful newborn safe.
One tip-off leads police to Newhaven on the south coast. Detectives suspect that, even without passports, the couple may be trying to flee the country. But instead of heading to the port, CCTV captures them walking through a residential area.
We realised they're just about to enter the South Downs. And the last images we have of them is walking past a residential premises towards a footpath which goes into the expanse of that South Downs for hundreds of miles of open land, with temperatures at -4, -5, with a tent designed for a festival. You know that the baby's health and well-being is at significant risk now.
Such a shocking story. Well, later on, we'll see how they were finally caught. Now, though, I'm with DS Laura Fox and DI David Jarvis from Cheshire Constabulary. They need help with an appeal involving the theft of over £260,000 worth of designer handbags. And we've got an example of one of the handbags here, which we'll come to in a minute. But Laura, just tell us a bit about this appeal.
Yeah, so on Sunday the 8th of June 2025 at around 11:38 p.m, 3 offenders have broken into a Cheshire boutique store which sells luxury designer handbags, and they've stolen around £260,000 worth of items in what was a targeted, sophisticated and well-organised burglary.
And we're just seeing pictures of the shop. Tell us a bit more about it, because it's in quite a posh area of Cheshire, isn't it?
Yeah, so the shop is called Dress Cheshire. It's situated in the heart of Prestbury village. It's often widely referred to as the Golden Triangle, with its neighbours Wimslow and Audley Edge. The store itself is situated next to an unoccupied building, and the offenders have there tunnelled their way through a brick fireplace into the store on the night. Yeah,
it's some effort that was put into this. And David, there is CCTV footage, isn't there, from inside, and you can see these three suspects breaking in essentially through this wall they've put in from the pub next door.
Yeah, that's correct. So today we've been unable to identify the offenders. As you can see from CCTV, at 11:38 hours on the 8th of June, the offenders break into the store. They're all wearing face coverings, and they're wearing clothing covering their necks, arms and legs. So we were unable to identify any distinguishing features such as marks, scars or tattoos. So we've been unable to identify them so far.
They're really clambering about, aren't they, grabbing those bags? You've got CCTV footage of the car that they travelled in as well, haven't you?
That's correct, yes. So through our inquiries, we know that the offenders attended the address next to the shop on the 3rd and 7th of June. They use the same vehicle on those dates as they do during the burglary on the 8th of June, and we've been unable to identify the make or model of that vehicle.
Yeah, which is partly why you're doing this appeal today. Yeah. And Laura, let's talk about this haul, because I mean, 260 grand's a lot of money, but actually that's not as many handbags as you might think, because these are really expensive handbags we're talking about.
Yeah, so in total there was 45 handbags that were stolen. A wide range of designer brands, including Hermes, Gucci, Chanel, Prada, Louis Vuitton. The most expensive item that went on the night of the burglary was an Hermes Birkin handbag. So it was a black crocodile that retailed around £45,000.
Wow, gosh, that's an incredible amount of money. And even this one we've got here, this is it's very similar to one of the ones, a couple of them that got stolen.
Yeah, so the one that's on display here today, so that's an Hermes Birkin handbag. It's identical to 3 that were stolen on the night of the burglary, albeit in different colours to this, and that retails around £20,000.
Yeah, wow. A lot of money, obviously, owner desperate to get this stuff back. And interestingly, the owner put in air tags into the bags, didn't they? So you were able to track them for a bit.
Yeah, that's correct. So Christine places air tags into the handbags in order, as an added security measure, in order to trace and locate them if they're stolen. So an Apple AirTag emits a signal to Apple devices, which then will send the location to the owner, in this case Christine. So on the night of the burglary, Christine received a notification on her phone to say the handbags were moving. When she's attended at the shop in company with the police, she's able to trace the pings, as you can see on the screen now, to a location in Wythenshawe, South Manchester. When officers have attended the location, they found the AirTags but not the handbags. So that makes us believe that the offenders knew of this added security measure.
Yeah, so you could see where they went and then they sussed it and ditched the AirTags.
Yeah, that's
so what is it you want from this appeal then?
So ultimately, we want to bring the offenders to justice and get some closure for Christine. And in order to do that, we need the public's help. So we need information in relation to the offenders. So I've got no doubt whatsoever that the offenders will be boasting about this crime in their local community. So we're really keen to hear from anybody who's able to provide a name for the people responsible. Also in relation to the vehicle, if anybody can remember seeing a suspicious vehicle on the 3rd, 7th or 8th of June in around the Prestbury or Wythenshawe area, we'll be keen to hear from them. And then finally, 45 high-value rare handbags have been stolen, and the only reason to do that is because of the monetary value. Yeah. So we'd be really keen to hear from anybody who's been offered to buy one of these handbags at a significantly reduced price or in suspicious circumstances.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Anyone offering you one of those on the cheap, it's probably dodgy.
Yes.
Yeah, great. Well, thank you so much for coming in. And we will keep those images on our website so you can have a closer look as well. And if you know anything, please do get in touch. The ways to do that are at the bottom of the screen.
Now back to our exclusive look at the search for Constance Martin and Mark Gordon. Police believe the couple are going to sleep in the wild, and they are worried about the baby. As temperatures dip below freezing, they're spotted heading out into the South Downs with only a flimsy tent for shelter.
This was the biggest search operation that I've ever been involved in and think I ever will, and it was imperative that we found the couple and the baby.
Police focus the search on the area where the couple entered the South Downs. They deploy drones and urge farmers to keep vigilant for the fugitives, but they find nothing. As the search continues, police begin to get a clearer picture of the couple's very different backgrounds. She is an aristocrat. Her father served as a page boy to the Queen. She studied Arabic at university and went to drama school. Personal photos suggest she was glamorous, well-travelled, and a free-spirited young woman.
Constance Martin does come from a background in which she has an abundance of financial means. We knew that following the sale of land from the family estate, that the trust was set up. Constance was receiving around £5,000 a month from that fund.
By contrast, Mark Gordon grew up in Birmingham, the fifth child of a nurse. In the 1980s, his family moved to Florida, where he was convicted of raping a neighbour, a 30-year-old mother of two, at knife point.
Mark was, at the age of 14, convicted to 40 years for that home invasion and rape. And we also know that actually he was committed to an adult prison. He served 20 years before being deported.
By now a registered sex offender, he meets Constance Martin in a shop in London, and their turbulent relationship begins.
From that moment on, she had very little to do with her family. They went and lived in a very isolated position, really just relying on themselves to get through day by day.
As the manhunt for the couple continues, CCTV picks up Constance in New Haven, walking with a bag, and just minutes later, buying food and petrol. Mark Gordon is also spotted, but the couple remain one step ahead of the police.
And at that point, you start to question your decisions leading the investigation, leading the inquiry as to, have we done the right thing? Is there anything that we are missing?
5 weeks pass until, on February the 20th, CCTV shows the couple trying to break into some outbuildings, presumably to find shelter. The bag is still with them. The couple seem increasingly desperate, and 1 week later, they slip up when Constance Martin's bank card is used at a cash machine outside a shop in Brighton.
A man who had been in that convenience store where the ATM was had spotted them, and he rang 999.
Officers were dispatched, and 7 minutes later, have the couple in their sights.
You stop for a second. Stop for well, I need to speak to you. Well, because potentially I think you may have been in national news. So, put the stick down. Drop it now.
After 53 days on the run, the fugitives are arrested.
Right, where's your child?
The first question that I ask is the baby with them? And I get told no. And at that point, my heart just goes.
Where is your child?
The couple were belligerent, they were obstructive.
Where's your child? In a minute, where's your child?
Constance just arguing what she had been arrested for, rather than answering the questions, which were, where is your baby?
You are under arrest for concealment of birth of a child.
How's that? That's not arrest.
All right. And section 27.
The couple are brought into custody, and the desperate search for their baby goes on.
The first thing that we did was deploy hundreds of officers so that night we were searching every part of the land close to where they were arrested to try and find her safe and well.
But on March the 1st, the search is called off.
So the officers searching the local area had seen a shed on sort of an allotment, and inside had seen the blue tent, as well as bags, and particularly the bag for life, and that you can see them carrying throughout the investigation. And the officer puts his hand into the bag. He finds, firstly, discarded nappies, bottles and rubbish before he touches a baby's body. And in essence left in a state that was so degrading that, you know, is one of the things that will, you know, will live with me for a long time.
This afternoon, senior officers laid their own tributes in memory of the child, who they say may have died some time ago.
We are truly devastated by the outcome, and we know this emotion is being felt here in Brighton and across the country today.
Now in custody, Constance Martin is interviewed by detectives.
We have found a baby. Constance, I can tell you, the baby's not alive.
Yeah. Did you have a vaccine?
Is it your baby?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
The evidence suggests the baby probably died of hypothermia. She was named Victoria.
Tell me about that, Constance. Take your time. Constance.
On July 14th, 2025, Constance Martin and Mark Gordon are found guilty of gross negligence manslaughter, perverting the course of justice, and child cruelty. In September, they are jailed for 14 years.
Getting the guilty verdict was all about giving justice to baby Victoria. But it was closure, certainly for me, I think, and the investigation team, that actually there was sole responsibility for her death lays with Constance Martin and Mark Gordon.
I just find it extremely, terribly sad. All we were ever concerned about and all we ever wanted to do was find Constance and Mark with the baby in the hope that they'd be safe and well, they could get them the care that they needed and that the baby'd be fine, but it was just so disappointing and sad.
We'll always be asking questions. We'll never really truly know why they did what they did.
They were also sentenced for concealing the birth of a child. It's such a tragic story, but also one that shows the dedication of everyone involved in tracking the couple down. And if you've been affected by any of the issues in that film, then head to the BBC Action Line for advice and support on who to speak to.
Now, vapes have been steeped in controversy, be it the environmental damage of disposables or being marketed at underage shoppers. But there is also a new worrying and dangerous trend, and that is vapes that contain substances like THC or even spice.
Yeah, and they have been making their way into the hands of children as young as 13. Well, with us to tell us more about it are PC Nick Burnett from Devon and Cornwall Police and Professor Christopher Pudney from the University of Bath. Thanks for coming in to explain. You've got a machine here you're going to tell us all about that's been helping with testing. But first of all, Chris, this is a growing problem, isn't it?
Yeah, so we've now tested vapes and liquids pulled out of schools across the country, and we find that 13% of all the material we've had has actually got a synthetic drug called spice in. And that's a drug we find endemic in the UK prison system, where it's associated with nearly half of the non-natural deaths of men, and it has withdrawal symptoms like heroin withdrawal.
Yeah, because what is spice?
Yeah, it's a purely synthetic drug that was originally designed to mimic cannabis, but it actually never made it to market because it's just so dangerous.
Wow, that's a massive amount that you found, 13% there. So Nick, as a police officer, tell us, how does a drug like this end up in these vapes, and these vapes that kids can actually get hold of and are getting hold of?
Yeah, so they're getting hold of in schools. Quite commonly you see QR codes on street furniture, lamppost, bus stops, in city centres around the schools, and the kids literally scan the QR code and it takes you straight through to their menu of choice. Put your order in and it comes through in the post.
Well, it's quite easy for them to actually put the spice within a normal vape that the kid can then buy.
Absolutely, it comes in a commonly a clear liquid, but also in brightly coloured to attract the children, and you literally just refill your vape up and away you go.
God, it's scary how readily available it is, isn't it? Chris, can I just ask as well about the distinguishing of vapes? Because obviously you've got the kind of legitimate high street ones and then these ones laced with spice. You've developed kit to be able to tell the difference between them.
Yeah, exactly right. And Nick will show it here. We've developed this with Devon and Cornwall and with Nick. What this device does lets us tell the difference between normal vape liquid or even in a smokable vape here or in a liquid or an edible. And it lets us distinguish a bunch of different drugs. So right now it's going to test for THC and spice and even synthetic opioids. And the colour that comes up on the LED panel there gives you a sense of what drug you've got. So when this finishes running, we'll see what we've got here, and we can see it's come up there with a colour. So now we've got a drug in there that we're going to worry about, and then Nick's going to go away and test that further.
So we can just see there. So it has come up, and it's quite clear. You've got the 4 different colours there that it could potentially come up with the answer there, and we can see there that it has given an indication. That was just seconds, wasn't it? It was seconds that you've done that. So Nick, if someone is watching this and they're worried that someone may be using spice, especially if it's a child, but it could be anyone, couldn't it? What would you say to them? Should they be worried?
Yeah, but have the confidence to come forward. With all of the data we've collected, it's not about criminalising the children. It's about education, and we can reduce the demand, and we obviously can take it out of the market. But it's identifying the factors, so anxiety, children having palpitations, and it can lead to heart failure and kidney failure. But the kids are videoing and coercing a high-achieving student into doing things they wouldn't ordinarily do. That is captured on a video and then coerced by the threat of showing that video, whether it be to teachers or to parents or just onto social media platforms.
Gosh, it's so many elements to this, aren't there? And in terms of how it's going with this bit of kit, you kind of get sent the confiscated items, don't you, from the schools, and then what result have you had from it so far? That's right,
so we've run 2 operations, one in October last year, one in March this year. The results from October last year was 15% of all vapes contained spice. This year it was down to 6%. So we're hoping the education that we've been able to put out through ourselves and education and our partners has been able to reduce that figure down.
Brilliant.
Yeah,
great result.
News.
Thank you.
Good luck with the rest of it. Thank you.
I'm afraid that is all we've got time for today. Thank you for watching, and catch us on iPlayer, remember, for the next 30 days.
Yeah, tomorrow, a shop worker shows his steely resolve as he fights off an armed robber.
Within seconds, brandishes the 6-inch kitchen knife. One of the other members of staff, he's come out and clearly could have been hurt himself.
Do you know the man wielding the knife? Who he is?
We're going to see you tomorrow, same time, 10:45. Bye for now.
Bye-bye.
I thought I'd never fall again. The world was my no bitter end. But in the blink I lost it all. From the highest I took the fall. I watched it crumble, saw it burn. Now I face the lesson learned. Falling from grace, I hit the ground where I once soared. I'm broken now. I thought I had it all in hand. Now I'm scattered in the sand. I'm lost in shadows and despair. The world around me doesn't care. I'm lost in shadows.